In today's video, I'm going to tell you why I think you should take all the money you can during the next few weeks and get out of this market. I'm going to discuss how much higher I think Bitcoin and altcoins will go during this leg. And I'm also going to talk about why it's going to be so especially crucial to take profits during this leg. I think for some altcoins, it's going to be the final exit pump before they're completely doomed and end up like Atom or DOT or ICP. I'm going to show you some key resistances where I'd actually take profit during the next few weeks, so you can include that in your own exit strategies. And I'm also going to discuss if I think it's possible that this leg that we're currently in is the final leg of this entire cycle. Before we start, nothing here is financial advice, and I am not a financial advisor. So let me just get started with how much higher I think Bitcoin will go. If you take a look at this cycle, Bitcoin will chop for around 200 days before it gives a major breakout. So if you take a look at the last 206 days, you can say that this has all been one big choppy range, and the May all-time high breakout was a fake out, and this is the real breakout. And look, it lines up perfectly with the pattern of this cycle. We chop and bleed for over 200 days, and then within a very short window, we get a massive move up. And that move up can be anywhere from 120% to 200%, which puts the potential price target for this leg anywhere from 150k to 225k. I don't know how powerful this particular breakout is going to be. It's anyone's guess as to where it ends up. It's possible we get a real massive institutional FOMO event with all the MSTR clone companies buying up Bitcoin, and we break the 200k region, which would actually be conservative compared to this leg that we had in late 2023 with the Bitcoin ETF approval. I don't know what's going to happen in terms of how high prices are going to go, but what I do know is, based on the history of this cycle, just looking at the patterns of what's happened in the past, this breakout has literally just begun. And when it started, a lot of people were doubting it, but I knew in my mind that this one was the real one because you could feel the power of it coming through. Now, the second thing I need to show you is the risk on indicator. This is one of my favorite indicators to tell me when the market is really heating up. And when we see that this indicator has had a long patch of being green for several weeks, we need to switch into take profit mode. So I'm going to try and show you this indicator in almost every video because it's really useful. The good news is it's only just started to flip green, which means we typically have several weeks to enjoy momentum in the markets and prices going up. But again, now you can see why I've titled this video this way. When Bitcoin and the market gets going, you should know by now that this happens in a very concentrated period of time. And that's actually one of the hardest things about crypto. 80% of the time it's total garbage, but 20% of the time is when all the fun comes at once, which is why people get so caught up in their emotions. So when I say 6 weeks in the title, that's really the sort of time frame where all the explosive gains come through. And it has to be that way because the way prices get so high to the point where you can enjoy the market and the prices is through fast, compulsive, emotional buying. Now, some of you might have PTSD and be worried about this leg failing and Bitcoin dumping again and dragging the entire market down. But let me bring your attention to this very useful tweet. In this tweet, he basically says this breakout has felt a lot more real than the May one. And I think we can all agree with that. I don't know if you guys remember, but back in May, I was even saying this Bitcoin breakout doesn't feel right. There's no power behind it. But this one does. It's a lot more convincing and stronger. It's certainly left a lot of people sidelined. Think about the fear down at 75k. It took a lot of balls not to panic sell down here, but a lot of people did. Many people waiting for 60k to buy. Price fully reversed without them, and it hasn't let anyone on board. It hasn't given any meaningful dip to give people a comfortable entry. And price is up like 60 or 70% from this place over here. Even 100k now is looking like a bargain. How crazy is that to say out loud? The second thing he discusses is, in May, if you remember some of the garbage that was pumping, like Mudeng, it really did feel more like an echo bubble. It was more of a short-driven rally as opposed to real retail people being interested and excited in crypto again and buying coins naturally. This time, if you take a look at the altcoin market, the pumps are a lot more reasonable and make sense with clear narratives in place. And then finally in this tweet, he talks about how the others BTC ratio pump in May was a quick spike pump and dump. If you remember those 5 days in May, it was really fun. But that was a very fast pump. This time it's been a little slower and a bit more gradual. And as you know, the faster things pump, the more unstable and unsustainable it becomes. So when you take into account this Bitcoin chart pattern of breaking out strongly after 200 days of consolidating, the risk on indicator only just turning green, and then altcoins also pumping more sustainably, I'm looking forward towards higher prices, and I'm not worried about this leg collapsing or ending anytime soon. But with that being said, it's going to be imperative to take profits during the next few weeks as things continue pumping. And there's two reasons for that. Firstly is because a lot of the coins that you may be in that you don't really want anymore, this is going to be the final exit pump where you can still exit at decent prices. I told Premium at the start of July, before this entire move kicked off, that they'll get a chance to fix their portfolios and get rid of all the bloat that's been holding them back. The point I want to make is the longer you bag hold these bad altcoins, the weaker and weaker the exit pumps are going to be. I think this leg that we're getting now is going to be the final, last serious chance to exit some altcoins at good prices. If you don't, it's possible you end up like Atom, DOT, and ICP holders, holding on to shit that's completely dead and unable to let go. You know what the weak and bad altcoins are in your portfolio. Make sure you're ready to dump them when the time comes. The second reason it's going to be crucial to take profits is because of just how much money you can make buying the blood and the fear when it comes back. If you remember in Jan 2025, I sold a lot of Sol and Trump, and I rebought things like MSTR, BTC, Syrup at the lows, and that stuff compounded my portfolio significantly. If you want to know what your most realistic pathway is for a 10x cycle, it's going to be selling the top of this leg really well and then buying back the lows of the best altcoins. Because look at some of the gains from the tariff foot lows. Just look at Bitcoin, MSTR, look at things like Syrup giving a 6x off the lows. Look at things like Hype giving a 5x off the lows. I'm not saying it's easy to nail all of these moves, but if you have 20k, to turn it into 200k, it's going to require you to think differently from others and take risks when they want. But yeah, I'd say for most people, this strategy of simply just selling greed when prices are high and buying back quality altcoins when there's a lot of fear in the market is how you make real money in this space. It sounds easy, but it's our emotions and our goals that stop us from doing that. I would say to all of you, don't have dollar goals in crypto. Don't have specific figures in mind, because that stuff stops you from taking profits and taking the right action at the right time. I've seen it burn too many people. Okay, now I'm going to discuss where I think this rally may stall and start the bleed process where crypto becomes really depressing for a couple of months. You already know this cycle, how it works. Bitcoin breaks out. As it's breaking out to new all-time highs, everyone becomes confident and starts gambling on altcoins. As soon as Bitcoin takes a breather or chops, altcoins start rapidly bleeding back and giving back all of their gains. It's like they're going into a bear market. This is exactly why I'm making this video and why I've titled it this way. So let's discuss when this bleed process may take place during this leg. If I'm looking at this chart, I can just visually tell you where I think it's likely that prices will face stiff resistance. So on the entire altcoin index, I would say going into here is going to be really tough resistance. This was where the market was before Trump meme killed it. A lot of people will want to sell and get out of stuff over here. And I believe that's going to be when most people's portfolios pump around another 25 to 30%. I think ETH being at 4k will also be another major resistance. I think the USDT dominance going to range lows will also be another major warning sign to take profits. Those are just three of the key places where I think it's likely the bleed will start. But what I need to do for you is make a proper exit strategy for this specific leg. So I'm not talking about the whole cycle. I'm just talking about each of these individual legs. A lot of YouTubers will make exit strategy videos, but that's based on 2021 stuff and they're talking about the entire cycle. I think it's far more useful to have and make exit strategies for each individual, because the only reason you wouldn't have taken profit around here or here is not because you don't know what you're doing, is because you think and everyone else is telling you that we're like over here and then the rest of the bull run is going to come and take place. But I think focusing on individual exit strategies is far more useful and it's less risky than praying and waiting for a big alt season or a major bull. Make sure you subscribe if you already haven't, and also follow me on X just in case I don't upload for whatever reason. And if you want to see when I start selling off my personal portfolio during the next few weeks, and you want to see what altcoins I'm holding for this leg, join premium and just watch out for those calls. I was heavily de-risking my portfolio before this major downtrend in January, and that sort of stuff is what lets you really compound a portfolio. I also don't imagine anyone wants to experience their portfolio bleeding for 2-3 months straight. It's not a nice experience, and this stuff can really affect you in real life. When every day you're checking your balance and you're just losing money, it can affect your mood and your motivation to do things. So it's really important that you take this exit strategy for this leg really seriously. And remember, as I said, for some altcoins, I really do think this is going to be like the last chance to get out. It's going to be the final call to get out. So don't miss that window when it comes. Okay, now I'm going to discuss, is this next leg where Bitcoin goes past 150k going to be the final leg of this cycle before a brutal 1-year bear market takes place? That's a very good question, and luckily for us, we have a cheat code to answer that question, which I haven't seen any YouTuber mention or use before. And it's the Bitcoin mining cost chart. Think about what causes a bear market. It's when a bunch of fools rush into the market, FOMO buying prices way higher than they should be. And when the momentum runs out, all of these fools will panic sell on the way down, pushing prices below where they should be. And this chart can tell us exactly when that's going to happen. Look at 2021, the difference in the orange and blue line. Look at the huge gap. Look at 2017 and the gap between the blue and yellow line. All we need to do is, once we see a normal gap between these two orange and blue lines, or we see this indicator approaching these range lows, that's the only time where I'd be confident enough to say, okay guys, I don't think we're going to get a standard 30% correction like we've been getting this cycle. I think we're actually going to see a prolonged bear market this time. But of course, that would only happen if prices on Bitcoin went really, really high. So we'll take it leg by leg on this channel, but I'm hoping we'll get at least one more major leg after this one to enjoy this cycle. Make sure you subscribe for this leg's exit strategy video, and make sure you follow me on X for more information regarding that as well. Thanks for watching.